I was raised in church. My mother took us to church every time that the doors were open. I was raised in a different denomination than the Methodist. When I was, 20 years old, I felt like that I had gotten married, and I felt like that I had had the call to ministry. And I told my wife that, and my wife tells me she's from a different denomination also, and she tells me that I had never even been saved. And I gave my life to Christ when I was 10 years old. And so that caused a friction spot between her and I separated because of it, got divorced because of it. My church that I was committed to decided that, well, now that I've been divorced, I am not worthy to serve. And I could come to church, but I couldn't be involved in church. And so I walked away from the church, and I lived under a cloud of condemnation, not feeling worthy for years and years and years. Got remarried to the party girl, and went down a path of drugs and alcohol, and it was not good. I woke up one morning and I had a toddler at that time. I had 3 little kids. Had a toddler at that time, and he was walking around the table, and there was a line laying on the table. And something clicked inside my head at that time, and I don't know whether it was God speaking to me, and I feel like now that it was. And I felt like that it said, your mother would roll over in her grave if she knew how you were raising your children. And the light came on. And I raised those 3 little ones on my own from that point on. And I got to thinking about it and talking to God about it, and I thought, it would be good for my children to be in church anyway. It gives you good morals and values and a base. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll take my kids. And so I got started and got involved. My brother and I would sing music and this and that and the other, and I was still involved, but I still had this feeling of, I'm really not worthy to be doing anything in this church. I said, I'm just, a cold construction worker, been involved in drugs and alcohol, so don't feel like that I'm worthy. And Peter, he's the guy that shows the human side of us. He, shows the lack of faith and the lack of focus that we have, and he was the one that the church was built on to start with. And then I started reading about other disciples and Paul and how he came up and came through. And I thought, boy, you know what? God used brokenness for His advantage all the way through. I set a weight down that I'd been carrying for over 25 years. And as soon as I set that weight down, I could feel a change start. All of a sudden, doors just started swinging open. This opportunity for the Cross Timbers Church came around, and once I finally got my feet on the ground at that point, I was like, yeah, this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been called to do all this time. I've learned a lot of hard lessons, but you take the hard lessons, even the parts where you have failed, and you take the lesson from that part where you failed, and you make good come out of that lesson, where I could tell my story and tell where I had been and where I was at. And so it gave a lot of different folks hope, and it's okay. And I'm still planting seeds today. My father was raised in Humansville, and when I was a kid, my grandma and grandpa lived just outside of town here, and we came over here every Sunday after church. We would come over here and visit with grandma and grandpa. This is meant to be. My name is Michael Cole, and I am the lay pastor at the Humansville United Methodist Church.